Get a bucket and a what? Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, and if your cake was left out in the rain, I think you may be entitled to financial compensation. So let me address something before we get into our review of All Stars 11, episode 12. Crystal Method won Drag Race All Stars 11. This means absolutely nothing to me because I was rooting for a couple others on this cast, but I know it means a lot to all of you. Or at least to a lot of y'all. I'm seeing quite a few of you expressing in my comments, not only here, but also on other platforms, that you're worried that Crystal's very obvious push in the last couple episodes is going to lead to upset by the fandom. They're gonna discredit her win. They're gonna make people feel bad for rooting for Crystal. And what I'm about to say is really important, so I need you to listen. There is never going to be a perfect winner of All Stars, ever. The #1 favorite of the franchise could come back to Drag Race. They'll win, and the fans will still be activated. That is the truth. I have been reviewing this show since season 7, and there has not been one single contestant that the fandom unilaterally agreed deserved a win. There are always going to be people who are unhappy. And I am working on a video that is talking about that subject in particular. Your enjoyment of any drag queen on the show cannot be contingent on other fans' enjoyment of that same exact queen. It just can't, otherwise you'll never be happy in this fandom. Who you like is who you like, and you have to just rally behind them, support them, buy their merch if you can, tune into their Instagram lives, hype up whatever content they post, and just be a fan. If the rest of the fandom is unhappy, let them be. With that out of the way, my property manager had this in the office and let me have it. I haven't had the fruit punch before. Oh, it smells so good. Not as good as Arizona's fruit punch, but still really good. I wish the production had trusted Crystal to win this Lollapalooza completely on her own without any stunts or gimmicks. It's kind of silly that they had her skip around when there were only 5 lip syncs total. They could have added 2 more, trimmed down some of the fat of this episode that we really didn't need to see, had Crystal and Jasmine both lip sync against different folks or even each other, and then do a 3-way lip sync, cut someone from that, and then the top 2. Just spitballing ideas here. In season 18's Lollapalooza, I was somewhat okay with the shenanigans of having a bunch of contestants skip lip sync songs. There were 12 or 13 queens, I think, that were eligible to lip sync that week. So having 6 more lip syncs is totally unreasonable, but I was a little concerned about the fairness. So my question is, did we need to skimp out on so few extra lip syncs when the Lollapalooza was this big? And to me, it seemed like they also included Jasmine in that skip, so it wasn't completely obvious that they were favoring Crystal, because there was no reason why Jasmine also skipped when she's the lip sync assassin. And Crystal was plugged into every one of those performances. It's not like she did bad, and even in her prior performances, she did well. And so it seems like they didn't trust her to be able to survive this on her own in the same way that they gave her those wins, because it seemed like they were afraid that she'd end up in the bottom placement. The editors, I feel like, have been for years at odds with the production team and have been showing their unhappiness through the way they edit and showing us Crystal saying again and again, I'm worried that these queens are gonna put me in the bottom. Those are little breadcrumbs that the editors are leaving, that if she is not the winner, the other queens would MBQ her to bottom 2 and try to get her out. And I do think all of that sucks. Not only for her, because it's gonna taint her win a little bit, but also it's gonna taint other fans' perception of this. Again, nobody's gonna fully be happy, but it would have been nice if the producers had just trusted the process a little bit. Besides the fact that they're going to favor who they're gonna favor. So just make it look as fair as possible. At least appear fair, right? And as much flack as a lot of us give All Stars 1, as cringy as it was, as overly complicated as All Stars 1 was, what I think they did correct was that gauntlet in that final episode, making the top 4 queens do that interview, the Hamburger Mary's speech, and then the comedy set. Combining something like that with what Canada's Drag Race Season 6 did in their semi-final with the Charisma, Uniqueness, Nerve, and Talent Challenge, I think that Drag Race All-Stars could do something similar to that. Have a gauntlet style challenge at the very end. Have them all do some type of comedy roast challenge. One is eliminated at the end of that. Second challenge, give them all the exact same dress, tell them to transform it in their drag style. Next day, have them model it, cut someone immediately. Have them do their lip sync Lollapalooza, call it a day. I think it would be a more more appropriate event for a finale. 2 cents. You know what was my biggest enjoyment this week though? It wasn't the pink furry box full of the drama questions that I hated, and that was mostly just uncomfortable. It wasn't the disco songs, though I was confused why there were so many redos of pretty iconic lip syncs among the franchise. My enjoyment came from Evan Mulrooney's dad bod and fuzzy chest in that tight little gold Speedo. And I'm glad that they gave us a little bit of last minute fan service with him because god damn! I watched him wiggle on that loop for like an hour today. I posted it on Twitter and I've just been watching it on loop anytime I open it. Our contestants enter the main stage for the final challenge after a lot of drama this week. And I want to reiterate one last time, I think it was extremely irresponsible of production to corral Akira and Silky into one room to get their drama to play out on camera, because all of this has resulted in so much public discourse that the fandom, quite honestly, does not have any business talking about. This is their personal, private matter, and Drag Race decided to get its hands on it and monetize this shit. And now the queens are facing all the backlash of it. Fans are taking sides, drag queens are taking sides, more problems are being dredged up than is literally anybody's business. I don't mind drama when stuff happens on the show. This is their personal beef, and we as fans have no business knowing about it. And I think it's really gross that the production team put a target on 2 queens of color when it wasn't necessary at all. On the main stage, Akira's white hairdresser smock was very pretty. Silky had the biggest lip sync loofah that I have ever seen in my life. Crystal looked like a ramen noodle piñata. Joey was giving more disco hairdresser tea. Dawn's glitter look was probably the cutest to me. I am obsessed with that purple glitter lined with zebra. Oh, too bad you can't package a great performance in a great look, because just on that look alone, she was the best in the room. Jasmine Kennedy looks amazing in gold, but I've got to ask, was there a bulk sale on this tinsel fringe? Because even Rue had it. They all heard the disco prompt and said, I know what's up. Hear me out. Tinsel fringe. When it was announced that Crystal and Jasmine could skip rounds based on their progress, look at Silky. She looks pissed the f off. And you know what? I would too. I'd be like, oh, I see what the tea is. I see what's happening here. I was proud of her for still fighting through it, because I would probably give up at a certain point. Silky manifested into the world that she wanted her name drawn both times, and the incomparable and sexy Evan Mulrooney did indeed grab Silky's name ball. Phrasing? And Silky, as a result, gets to choose her opponent, who she picks as Dawn so that she could take it easy for the first lip sync. She knew she was going to be lip syncing for a while. She didn't want to wear herself out too early. I think Dawn is a good opponent strategically because Dawn has said that she's not the most confident in her lip syncs. She's not won a lot in her career on Drag Race, so I would probably pick her too. This was great strategy. Dawn gets to choose the lip sync song and she picks Star Love. And girl, this was a one-way ticket to Mess Town. Dawn was so hokey pokey, and why was she having orgasms on the floor? Have you ever had one? Silky was lip syncing big, which I always love, but the twirling props I don't think were completely necessary, especially because she only used them for a little bit. It was like, oh, look at this! Okay. Like, use them the whole time or don't use them at all. Why did they come out? Silky was called as a winner, which is completely expected, and she did win that. In no world would Dawn have ever been able to beat Silky, and it's sad to see Dawn get the Irene treatment. The judges lived for her in her bracket. They hyped her up, gave her a lot of wins, only to kind of just say, who are you? When it got to round 2. I hope that she gets her kitty, and I hope that she has a fabulous career after this. The ball then lands on Akira, who chooses The Boss by Diana Ross. We got this lip sync from BB and Trixie. Joey was super sexy in lip sync, and I'm glad that she took it seriously, because Diana Ross is one of those performers that you do not around on. You do the lip sync spectacularly. You perform your heart out, and you don't play in front of Rue. I think Joey was big in her movements. She hit some great beats. I loved watching Akira as well. She was very fun on the stage. I think you can interpret this lip sync any different way. Both of them had their own strong interpretations on the song. For the subversion, it is interesting that they gave the win to Joey over Akira. And even more so, it's interesting that they played up all this drama just to leave some blue balls at the very end of it and not have Akira and Silky lip sync in some way. I thought that that's why they kept dragging Akira through the episodes. I thought that's why they brought her to this point, to get her in a lip sync with Silky, to finally squash all this on camera. It's the Chekhov's gun. If you show me something, it has to pay off. Otherwise, why did we look at it? Why were we subjected to all this story if it wasn't gonna go anywhere? Annoying. Joey is called as the winner, which I can see. I think, again, it's interesting for the subversion, and she moves on to round 2, where they are all joined by Crystal and Jasmine, who should have been lip syncing in round 1 to begin with. In round 2, Silky is picked by the ball yet again, and she, for whatever reason, chooses her opponent as Joey J. What a horrible decision, in my opinion, because I would not look at Joey, who just beat Akira, and think, oh, I can beat her. I would think, I'm gonna choose the one that production is gunning for. Let's see who they're really favoring, especially if I saw what was happening, because Silky looked pissed. Girl didn't even stand up for her when she won, which was and fierce, but we'll get to that. Joey chooses the main event by Barbra Streisand. You could feel the electricity coming off of Joey. I love when queens pick the cabbage, and she had these great arm movements, just bodying Silky. Silky to me was doing way too much. Yet again, I don't think she needed 2 costume changes in 30 seconds. I think her movements were a little clunky, and I think overall it was very clear that Joey won this. And that leaves the very last round of round 2 between Crystal and Jasmine. And y'all gotta get off Jasmine's ass about the way that she's been crying this season. Some of y'all are not even interesting enough to turn on a camera and film YouTube videos, let alone be on TV. And I am certain that y'all have no idea the pressures of having people beat at your throat all the time, expecting things from you, criticizing your work, etc. Like, y'all need to relax. The final lip sync song of this round is Knock on Wood by Amy Stewart, a classic on Drag Race that Alexis Mateo and Stacey Lane Matthews did in season 3, and most notably Sasha and Anitra did it in the finale of season 15. There are so many other disco songs that the show has not done. I was surprised to see this one get redone so quickly after it had been done in a finale already. Such is life. I think they both played well to their strengths. Jasmine was being serious, she was sexy, she was giving good body movements. Crystal, of course, was being a silly little Billy. I could see the lip sync win going either way, depending on your preferences. If you want a more sincere, earnest approach to a lip sync, or if you want something with a little more comedy. If you're RuPaul, you obviously want comedy. But I think the writing was on the wall since they got to skip around in the first place. If I were Jasmine, I wouldn't have even thought I had a chance to win. She gave a good fight. Crystal is called as the winner, leaving Joey J and Crystal to lip sync one last time to MacArthur Park. I am gagged that they chose this as a lip sync, considering that Manila and Delta had such an iconic lip sync to this song. And I'm also confused why they didn't pull in something like I Will Survive, which was a flop in season 8 between Layla and Dax. So much so that it resulted in a double elimination. So why they didn't reuse a song that could have desperately used a rehaul is beyond me. I think they both gave everything they had. This was a super fun lip sync for both of them. I liked Crystal's movement. I didn't like that very first costume, and I was a little meh about the second one. I did like Joey's outfit just a little more, and I think it would have been fierce if we had gotten an Electro Bionic run. Someone who does well their entire run of Drag Race, never winning a challenge, but then wins at the very end. That would have been sickening. That would have been such a unexpected route for the show to take, because they've not done it before in the US series. But Crystal is called as the winner of the entire thing, making her the very first Latino winner since Bianca Del Rio in season 6. Unless you count Ginger Minj's 1%, Puerto Rican or something. So on that end, that's very cool. I do think it was obvious from the time that Crystal got announced that she was gonna win, so I don't think this was surprising to me at all. And Silky not even bothering at all to stand up for Crystal was such a key. Oh, that's so hateful and rotten, but dirty, nasty work. Due to the nature of this entire season, I don't think I felt completely satisfied with the win, especially considering that Crystal and Jasmine got to skip a lip sync. That does taint the win just a little bit more for me. And again, I wish that they had trusted her to win this on her own, because I think she would have. She did well in all her lip syncs. What's one more? 2 more, max. What were your thoughts overall on this finale? I'm thinking about potentially doing either a retrospective of the season or potentially a challenge reorder. I don't want to do a rejudging because y'all are not ready for that tea. But let me know in the comments below what y'all thought about this season overall. Keep an eye out for Canada's Drag Race All-Stars episode 2 review coming out. It should be very soon. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see y'all on the flip. I almost said Crystal Envy. Crystal Versace. Crystal forever. Crystal will see you now. Crystal method 1.